Hello, everybody. My name is Hellkaiser, and welcome to a game called Faith, the Unholy Trinity. I just have to hope this game is working with my recording software. My preview doesn't work, but when I click out of the game, it lets me see that everything. So I'm just going to hope everything. I don't know much about this game. It's made by a company called Airdorf Games. So this is the only game they have made under this studio's name. But they are published by New Blood Interactive. And if you have not heard of New Blood Interactive, then you must not be a fan of boomer shooters, because New Blood has become the biggest name, I'd say, and the most respected amongst modern day boomer shooter revivals. And it's not just boomer shooters, they've done some other stuff, which I'll talk about here in a second. But just their games that are finished and out of early access right now. Of them, you have a Medieval, which was kind of like a reimagining or sort of in the same vein as Heretic and Hexen. Those games were connected. It's very similar in design to that, with awesome melee weapons and like interestingly created. It's a really fun game. I loved it to death. And then their most famous game that probably everyone has heard of would be Dust, a game that's very similar to Blood and just plays like a dream. The best boomer shooter. And they've also got a bunch of early access games that are still being worked on, such as Fallen Aces, sort of comic book style, noir, cel shaded, boomer shooter sort of game, along with Ultra Kill, which I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of. That the sort of nutty combination of boomer shooter and like Devil May Cry, and it's a ton of fun. I've recorded, I think, an episode. I don't think I've uploaded it yet. I recorded like an episode or two of Ultra Kill, but it's one of those games where it's not finished yet, and I'd kind of like to play it once it's finished. Other than that, they also have done, I think it's Gloomwood is the name of the game. I'll make sure I get it right. I played that on and off for a couple of years now throughout early access. I might record it now because they've done a couple of new updates just recently, July of 2025, at the time I'm recording this. Hopefully it'll get uploaded soon as well. But this is the only game other than like their original game that they like first published was like a bullet hell kind of game, but that's kind of not what they're remembered for now. But anyway, this is the only game that they have that's out of early access and published under the New Blood title that is not really a boomer shooter or interactive or immersive simulator sort of thing like Gloom or anything like that. This is a low fidelity, kind of like Commodore 64 kind of looking horror game, as far as I understand it. I don't know much about this. It was recommended to me by some friends and stuff that I love horror games. I especially am a fan of like the PS1 and PS2 era, the like original Resident Evil trilogy, Resident Evil 4. There's so many good horror games on the PS2 era. Rule of Rose, got like Clock Tower 3 was on there. It was launched over the PS2. What was it, like Extermination or something like that? It was a really cool kind of game I've been wanting to record. There was so many. I could sit here and spend an hour naming off games just the PS2 era that were horror games. But this is a little bit more not that style, of course, but that's sort of the background of them I like. And I've played horror games since I was a kid. I'm a massive fan of them, and I've just been told this is good, and I don't know nothing about it. I've gone in blind. Honestly, I can't even tell you the Steam page information off the top of my head. It's the summer sale. It was on sale for like $2. and I was told, "Oh yeah, you gotta get this, gotta get this," and so I bought it. This writing is like in, I'm guessing, Italian. When you click over it, it it changes uh, instruction. To move, use WASD or the arrow key or left analog stick. You can use a controller. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. Psalms 106. Okay, so it's actually a tutorial on how to walk. Okay, so this kind of looks like a Five Nights at Freddy's mini game. Okay. The only thing I know is you play as a priest, and this game's got a lot of religious stuff, which is another reason it's kind of recommended. I'm definitely not what you would call a regular churchgoer, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that. I'm not going to say I don't agree with anything that the Bible I believe in, and I don't understand it all. There's a lot of contradictions, a lot of things hard to understand. I don't believe in what a lot of people preach about the Bible, and I don't believe in a lot of the ways a lot of modern conservatives or Christians, whatever, Puritans, whatever word you want to call it, is acting and is depicted. There are some people that, in my opinion, go a little too far on their religion, and they try to act, very judgmental of other people. I don't believe. The Bible literally says, "Judge not, shall be judged." And so, at the end of the day, I don't understand why anybody would criticize anyone, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we all try to live our lives best we can. Pick out 100 Christians would tell you they're the most perfect people, and they're people that are probably some of the most inhuman, almost, people you'll see. I've seen a lot of Christians who act very perfect at the pulpit and are disgusting behind closed doors. That's the truth about anybody. You say you're any religion, you say you're anything, and there's some terrible people in everything. And I used to not be much of a church goer. I used to say, well, there's too many hypocrites in the church. I still kind of use that as an excuse to go to church a lot. But believe it or not, I am a officially licensed minister. I didn't go to college or anything. I got a course off the internet so I could marry my mother. Not marry, you know what I mean? Perform the ceremony. Don't take that out of context. And I used to think about religion as sort of like a possible career choice. I realized I'm not the type of person that can get up and talk to people about religion and faith and living a life a certain way when I'm not a perfect person. I've had people tell me that listening to metal music and playing metal music, I play bass, love metal, sing sort of a growl. I'm kind of like a bass singer. I can sort of go into like a deep growl, but either way, I've been told that that's not Christian beliefs, and I love Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, and stuff like that, and people talk about all the other sorcery, it's all sorts of stuff, and that's why I've just never felt a true calling to religion as a career path or a life path. But I do know the Bible to a pretty good degree. I'm not one to tell you every verse, chapter of the Bible and have paragraphs memorized, but I know it pretty well. And like I said, just this sort of seems like something that would be up my alley. Here's the options. There isn't really any options. There's scan lines, as you can see, built into the game already. Aberrations like the default. There's like a grayscale with an A. Done. Aberration, the default, which I think just sort of has a bit more of a vivid text. I don't know what most of this other stuff does, so I leave it be. Anyway, we talked for about 10 minutes here. Let's get into it. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Marathon. All 3 chapters in one session. Does that mean there's like no saving between? I'll just do Chapter 1. Continue. Notes. Okay, so you can save.
Check me.
Sorry about that. Let's get started. Flashlight mode not yet unlocked. Lantern mode not turbo. Settings. Oh, you gotta hit confirm twice. I keep forgetting that. Okay, I got like a white collar around my neck. I guess I'm a father. I'm not Catholic by birth. I was not raised in a Catholic household. I was raised in a Pentecostal household with Baptists. The other half of my family. But of all the bits of like Christianity, I've always found Catholicism to be like the interesting. I don't know enough about it to really be able to speak well, but just I like the idea of some of the ceremony a bit more. Have you forgotten already? This forest has a mind of its own. If you get lost, you always try remembering where you. Pressing the escape key start button is a good place to start. If you're in a hurry, hold spacebar or the action skip cutscene. Man, this is low fidelity. What the? Run! Oh man, that's not a spider. That's and I'm dead. Mortis. I got an achievement. Touched for the very first time. Madonna, like a virgin, of course. Okay, so the game starts over. So how am I seem to move pretty slow. Can I move any quicker? Okay, spacebar holds up a cross. Power of Christ compels you. Try to move quicker. So that's not it. It looks like a spider, but it's just a man. That's kind of terrifying. Especially with this sort of low fidelity style it's got going. What is that? Okay, I exorcised a spirit or something? You're invited. Of course, it's a clown. Come celebrate Nate and Jason's 6th birthday, Saturday, May 3rd, 12 p.m., 4 p.m. Directions, turn right at 1338 Snake Meadow Hill Road and go straight past the well. So is that where I'm heading? Birthday party? Is that a dead deer? I mean, no, it's alive. Spider-Man is coming for me. That is creepy. I don't even know who he is. Okay, this house is completely down. It looks destroyed. There's actually voices. Kind of weird, especially how metallic and tinny it sounds. It's a lot. Kind of sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to do Terminator voice. I got a fly buzzing. I've been painting a bunch of Death Guard miniatures Warhammer, and I don't know if somehow the warp is drawing in flies to be around the smelly boys, or if it's just the fact that it's summer and the fact you open the door, there's just a million enemies. The power of Christ can't do nothing. This thing. Like, music is really good. I like it. That really crappy MIDI filter over like a kind of just very simplistic haunting that. Okay, what do I do then? Do I need to find the? How do I find the key? It's locked, is all I know. So what am I supposed? Can I go side to side? I can. Cemetery. I exercise to go. That cross scares him. Mr. Martin, it has taken longer than expected registering markers on your property. As a historical center, our office has had difficulties identifying who was buried there. The inscriptions, the gravestones are written in a language that we cannot identify. I've sent the gravestone rubbings to some of my peers at the University of Connecticut. I will reach out to you and get a response from them. All the best. Daryl Henderson, State of Connecticut Historical Society. The font used here is kind of hard for me. I apologize if I sound like I'm really struggling. It's because I am. So, am I Daryl Henderson? Daryl Henderson? Yeah, I could be. Or Mr. Martin. Here again. Follow the D. It sounds like whatever voice lines he's saying are being spoken in blood. That's supposed to be like a what is the devil's cross called? I know it's just cross up. Chaos reigns. What exactly does that mean? This looks like the exact same place. Howdy. Back at the cemetery. That was kids. One there. Here again, children going to the lab. This is getting kind of. It's definitely creepy. Opening. Especially priest from the looks of me running after a bunch of children while there's like a demonic Spider-Man running around the woods. The Martin's house lies about 100 yards off the Snake Meadow Hill Road. There's almost no driveway. Trees just out in the middle of a gravel path that is mostly covered in grass. It was difficult to find the house, especially since it was already dark when we arrived. Father Alfred. Is that Alfred? It's not Allred, is it? It's gotta be Alfred. Seemed to know where going. Simply drove straight ahead until we arrived at the house. In the headlights, I saw an old shed off to the right of the path. Father Alfred explained that he would rather perform the exorcism away from the house, but the Martins had insisted that Amy remain inside. Explained that having the family present makes it difficult to perceive elements of the rite that they seem harsh to the layperson. So there's Amy, and then there's Jason and some other kid, apparently blind. And they required an exorcism. And there's a demon person running around like a spider. Okay, I think I'm catching the drift of this. Spider-Man. Okay, I guess that's an odd. Nice try, Spider. Power crisis. Is it a cross or a crucifix? Because I don't know much about X's stuff, but I know that the cross doesn't have the same power as the crucifix. And like in some vampire mythologies and stuff, it's a cross they're afraid of, and others it's a crucifix. What happened there? I was holding up the cross. I'm back in the house. So does it have to be facing? Or did he just overpower it then? Where do I have to go to get back to the... Yeah, so you gotta face it. So walk through the valley of the shadow of death. There's no evil. Bob, the kids and I miss you more every day. Twins and Amy have started their next school year at home. Amy keeps asking loud to go to real school. I think she's getting cabin fever, so they're home. The twins are having no problem occupying their time. Yesterday they came in with their hands covered in blood. I guess they found a dead deer and thought it would be a good idea to touch it. I think we might have a coyote problem because when I went out with them to look at the dead deer, it was a pretty gruesome sight. Okay, I'm just going to say this. I grew up in Tennessee. I live in Tennessee. I'm what by most people. I have seen deer hit on the side of the road. I have seen animals have been eaten. I've seen shot animals. And I have never once in my childhood ever ran up to a dead animal and touched it, let alone something that sounds like it was ripped apart like this, a gruesome sight, and especially gotten its blood all over. Maybe I'm different than some people, but I'd be worried about my kids that sort of went up to this torn up carcass of a deer and apparently fingered it enough to have blood all over their hands. I mean, what was they doing? Rummaging around in its guts? Either way, I mean, I think all this just the day after the twins' birthday party. Can't wait till you come home. The father wasn't even at the birthday party. Is this supposed to be the deer carcass? The bones of it? Or back at the cabin. How do I leave? Get back. For spirit exercise. Public lecture by Carl James Osborne. Connecticut Historical Connections to Witchcraft, Satanism. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Witchcraft, Satanism, and Beast. Beast is another part. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've never understood Satan. And it's not something I'm particularly interested in learning about, but like when you watch some movies, like I've been having a Vincent Price movie marathon. I've been kind of sick lately, and it's just been unbearably hot this summer. Tennessee been about upper 80s, and with humidity, it feels like almost 95. It's always around 90, 92 ish with humidity and a bunch of other conditions. And so I've been inside watching Vincent Price movies. The movies I saw recently was The Mask, The Red Death. This is the road, not where my car is. There's my car. But anyway, in that, Vincent Price's character, the Prince, is a Satanist. He just seems like a terrible person. And, I get that was also sort of the way things kind of designed in like the 50s, just whenever that movie came out. But, like, is that. He killed the deer. So that's what's been killing the deer around here. But anyway, is it really. Is that all Satanism is? Because I know during. Okay, there's something. Kids or something in there. During. Take me home into the house once again. Yeah, I feel safer reading these letters, like nothing can hurt me. So I'll finish what I'm saying, and then I'll read the letter. Is the religion of Satanism literally just, I'm an evil person. I'm going to brand people with the mark of Satan, make women his brides, and then kill them off, and all this stuff. It'd just be a cruel. Is there anything actually to it? Uh, I've never been able to understand. It's a scary thing, sort of stand. By let's read this. Mr. and Mrs. Martin greeted us at the front porch. Mr. Martin led us downstairs to the basement, explaining that Amy was down there in restraints. I felt for him. There was guilt and shame in it. Amy was in the very back of the attic. Of the attic? She said, led you down to the basement. In a chair, perfectly calm, staring at us. It is hard to describe the look of her face, kind of look a child gives. So again, is that like a mistypo or something like that? Or is that got some because from a biblical perspective, you a lot of things relating to sin is described as going down. For example, when Jonah was asked to go to Tarshish, preach, save these, he and it says in most versions of the Bible went down. Or no, he wasn't supposed to. Tarshish is where he was going to be. I can't remember the name of the city. But anyway, he went down to Tarshish, described in which of course down. The meaning of sin always takes you down. But I wonder if what this means that he went down in the basement there in the back of the attic. So like going down leads. Is that a person hiding behind the coat? The fact that there's no sound whatsoever now is kind of creepy. Exercise the ghost from the picture. Oh, it's just a picture. That just gives me the. So the girl in purple is Amy. Kind of looks creepy there. I mean, I always did that sort of crooked grin when I was a kid. I kind of still do it now. I have a hard time out of my. I have a weird problem with my. I can. It's not like I've had a stroke or nothing, but I really move my whole face. I can't close my right eye, but I shoot left-handed, which means that I've had to learn to aim down sights and a gun, both eyes open. I can see, and it's you know I can close my left eye. I can't close my right eye. I can't really bring up the pardon me the left side of my face into eye grin. Very difficult. But also, this picture looks kind of weird. The father's looking at the wife's looking at the child's looking. Nobody's looking into the camera. Okay, get from oh staircase table or can I do it on the rug? No, I don't really. Stairs or downstairs or where? Okay, in here. The complete lack of really disturbed. Eight. Yeah, I don't think that Nate was the kid. So is Nate the person in red cloak howling, praying, or are they just screaming, killed by the giant thing in black? Which that is, yeah, I guess it's the possessed. Okay, that goes down. I don't know what that is. It looks like a piece of. Okay, this is like a room. Ends. Guessing this takes place in like 50s because really old school television. Okay, this bedroom. I don't know who. Bed is quite large, so man, it's massive. It's the size of a semi truck compared to my guy. Uh, I guess this is be like a king bed. What's this shadow, or is that like a spirit behind me? Creep. It's just why is there no that blood? A bicycle, like door. Is that what that? Is? Thing I can hear is my heartbeat headphone. Couldn't go in that bathroom. Rubber, rubber ducky. I don't feel safe and hear voices outside around the house at night. I don't let go out in the woods to play because I'm afraid of what is out there. The house itself feels very stressed, sorted, planted. It's like I'm walking through a carnival funhouse. Amy's condition has only gotten worse. I can't stand to be around her. I don't know why. Doesn't seem like herself anymore. I want to take her to the doctor. Boys here. I find that the phone stops working throughout the day. Now I can't find my car key. Thank God Bob comes home. Okay, yeah, if I wasn't there any so there's something out in the woods, looks like a Spider-Man, killing animals. Her little girl is possessed, apparently, and I guess she took the car key. But yeah, that would be terrifying. If that was me, I'd got tell my husband came home, we're leaving. Plain and simple. Nope, not staying here. As you do, whatever your decision, just take us in town. There. Bob must be stationed somewhere in the Middle East because he sent over this all for Amy. I'll ask about it next. Have a book. Looks like it could be over there. Amy didn't seem excited to see. I think she would have rather had a phone instead, or maybe baby doll makes her feel self-conscious about working at the club. Okay, so Amy is not that young, and so this doesn't seem like it. Maybe this is modern day. It's just because it's so retro. I just imagine everything past. But wanting a phone, works at a clinic, and seeing a baby doll makes her self-conscious or whatever. I know that's not what they're called, like entirely like or whatever they're called. I guess I was the only thought check in the attic. Got up freezing cold. I found Amy standing in the back, looking straight at me, like when I first met her downstairs. He spoke briefly, although it was frustrating to talk to her or it. I experienced a bit of deception from the during our conversation. Uttered my mother's first name. Other instance spoke perfect Latin. I called for help from others. Nobody came. I raised my crucifix and I again. Okay, I'd be kind of concerned that I'm in the room with a young lady possessed with a demon, and I'm calling for help, and nobody's answering. Uh, I've never seen like a real exorcist, and it's my personal belief that a lot of, especially what was recorded in older session, would be mental illness, especially if you thought of just the Bible and the way it describes a lot of possessed, uh, such as the man who was possessed by Lee. Uh, he had a lot of cuts and stuff on him, which sounds like somebody cutting them illness. Uh, Seizures and stuff were described with some uh, things like that, which again sounds like medical issues that just people didn't out back in that. Uh, I can't say for certain. I am diagnosed bipolar. I've only recently discovered it, but in my lifetime, I've never had any moment I felt like I was just straight up saying something creepy. Uh, but I don't know. Maybe back then people acted differently. I don't know. Uh, I don't know what exactly you'd say for someone to think you possessed, other than maybe speaking sexual. And then the perfect Latin. Again, can't really speak Latin as no Latin is a written language, and words like Rex translate to king. Certain words root of law, but nobody knows if the way Latin is read is actually how it's spoken. But I've seen people speak Latin by speaking the written word. But again, we don't know for certain how it was actually or anything. This must be the girls' bedroom hall. Like that, I guess that's like a vanity table, makeup desk. Okay, this is creepy. Lots of action figures, dolls, whatever. with the heads off. This must be the twin. I can't really identify. I guess that's like one vacuum I had one as a kid. I don't know what they got, like marbles or balls and it pops as you ride it. That's clearly supposed to be like an etch a sketch. That kind of looks like a Pokeball, but it must be like a car because it's on wheels. No idea what the rest of this is. And with having two beds in it, that's got to be the. That's supposed to be like a map or like a chalkboard. I can't. Chest here, chest or a table. That's supposed to. Okay, that's all that I can head back down to the basement, and I really don't want to do. Okay, that's like a mannequin. There's clearly supposed to be blood or something on the ground. Far left. File cabinets, boxes. Okay, what's all this? That's a baby. Oh, that's supposed to be pools of water. That's a word. Dear Amy, thanks for writing. It really brightened my day hearing from you. In your letter, you asked what weirdest thing I've seen as a area we are working as a lot of folks practice. That's a QUI Quimbata? What the heck is that? I gotta Google it. QUI. Quambara is an Afro-Brazilian religion that focuses on the worship of benevolent spirits called Exus, and their female counterpart, Amba Grias, is often practiced in Brazil, sometimes along with other Afro-Brazilian religions, Umbanda and Candomblé. Umbanda is known for its focus on worldly matters, particularly success and love and money, complementary or even opposing forces to. So, spirits. Okay, I can see how this is going to tie in here. Uh, Exus and Palmas Garas are the spirits of this religion, and they're believed to be powerful and capable of influencing human lives. Exus are male spirits, while Pampagiras are female counterparts, and are often associated with sexuality and feminine power. Uh, there's a worldly focus in religion based off practical worldly goals like wealth, love, and success. Some practitioners see Kimbanda as a contrasting force to Umbanda, with Umbanda focusing on white magic and Cubanda focusing on black magic or darker forces. So it's like a Satanism sort of thing. Rituals and often involve dances, invocations to Exes and Bambagiras. They petition these spirits for assistance in various matters. Uh, it's believed to emerge from a blending of African beliefs brought to Brazil by slaves with indigenous European. Due to its association with darker forces, Kimbada has faced negative connotations, sometimes mistaken or equated with Satanism or black magic. However, Cubanda practitioners see their work as practice distinct set of belief practice. So yeah, like I said, it's a dark magic sort of thing, Satanism ish. It's what you might call a pagan religion. It's kind of a mix of Catholic African religion. Okay, that's not what it says on the page. One of the saints they worship is San La Muerte, or Saint Death. As I say, La Morte means till or death. I know that. Yesterday, we talked to a boy about 15. When we asked him if he had ever prayed, he said no, but I have prayed to San Morte. He told us about a time when he stayed over at cousins, and according to him, they prayed to some figures of San La Morte, and the figures made the house move around. Got real quiet and scared looking after that. We told him he could pray to God, and God wouldn't make him scared like that. We invited him to a church, but he hasn't come yet. Okay, so Leighton is the person's name. That's not Bob. So her husband was deceased, and he called Bob. Whoever this Leighton is, I need to wrap up this letter and get back to work. 4 months. So who is this Leighton guy? Is this priest? He's a missionary. That doesn't mean he's a priest or anything. Is he like a boyfriend? Yeah, this letter is to. So is that like a baby bed, or what exactly is that supposed to be? I'm not, pardon me, I'm not certain. The fact that there's no music, not even just like a little dun 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 dun, just a simple little upbeat kind of thing playing. Oh fuck! A bunch of mannequins covered in sheets. Okay, biggest fears of mine: clowns, mannequins. That's like my top two worst things. I cannot stand mannequins. I've always had this sort of feeling that they would come, start moving and then stop behind you. That's always been something that I've had a fear of. Uh, Especially like there's an old Navy town where I grew up, and the mannequins are like skin toned and had eyes and hair and stuff. Are not real hair, but painted on, and they look more realistic than say like your regular, you know, department store mannequin or whatever you call them. In fact, I once played a joke on my dad by running in the Navy, uh, putting on a hoodie, standing up, because as soon as you walked into Old Navy, there was like a bunch of men of various colors, and there's like children and adults, uh, and they were just on a stand as soon as you like walked in the door. And so I put on a hoodie and I stood up on this stand next to two adults, mannequins, so I looked like their kid, and he couldn't recognize me. But then as I stood there longer, I started to feel like the eyes of the woman and the mother and father I sort of suspected were looking at, and it really creeped me out. And plus, I think I've told the story before. I don't know. This is going to sound like probably the stupidest story a kid can mention. When I was a kid, I was like 5 or so. We lived in a really nice house, uh, out in sort of like a suburb area, kind of more of a country area than a suburb area. It was like a circle of houses we lived. Wasn't much else around. Uh, and I had an outdoor cat named uh, Jaden. I later found out she's a girl, and I renamed her. But she was a little kitten, and she lived in the garage and her off. She would climb up the screen with her claws on the back door. She climbed because the screen somehow, I don't know if it connected to the window or she just jumped the other, but she would climb up to the window, which was like connected to the bar of the kitchen, and she'd knock on uh the window for to let you know she'd come home. And one day I was sitting in the kitchen watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars as a kid, and it was around Halloween, and somebody knocked on that window, and it was a man completely dressed in black with like a mask on. I couldn't see his face. I know he had some, uh, but it was like sort of like a paintball mask or something. Uh, I've done a lot of Mill Sim stuff. Sort of like a bottom face mask with like teeth. Like I have ones like a dinosaur mouth. sort of thing. I used to. Maybe somebody knows what I'm talking about. And this person stood there, kind of like a mime, just barely moving, but had their hands pressed against the window, like they're trying to push in, come in. And then as I started to walk away, they walked over to the back porch, or there's like standing on the steps. Now they're on the back porch and just stood there, unmoving, stared at me, and it was just extremely creepy. I don't know if it was my dad's idea of a joke, asshole, or if it was some kid in the neighborhood, or what exactly it was, but it terrified me. And I've always had this feeling of being watched ever since then. And I don't leave. I almost put tinfoil on it rather than let anybody look in the windows at me. Thing. Okay, is this supposed to be a freaking? There's blood all over the. Supposed to be where the exorcism took place, or is this a satanic ritual? Amy's parents could not endure witnessing right for Mrs. Martin was hysterical, and thing that was inside Amy feeding off. Father Alfred asked me to take them upstairs. I was physically worn out, managed to get them back upstairs, and Amy was screaming, "Mother, mother," the whole time. Finally, I got them to sit down with me at the table. After a few minutes, we couldn't hear much of any basement, so I went down to check on. I found Father Alfred laying on his back, unconscious, with his arms spread out wide. Amy was not in. Okay, that is freaking tense. Okay, things are going weird. What is all this? I in bed. Is that supposed to be Amy? Is here. Whoa, here she comes. Come face to face with Amy. Uh, the game hasn't saved yet. This is really creepy. What's all? Power of Christ compels you to leave me alone. Well, looks like I. Uh, Zoom, notes, options, quit, text. How do I know if save? I guess it's not sure, but I'm try to open the game back up and make sure it's saved. And chapter 1 continue. Yeah. Okay, so we're at a safe spot. We got 7 minutes till the hour's up. I'm just heading in this. I'm gonna say this. This game seems extremely simplistic, but it does an amazing job with this like really old style Commodore 64 ish design. Uh, I really like the way it's designed. I like just the creepiness of the Spider Man and Amy. Uh, they move. The game only runs at 15 FPS, but it looks like they're moving like almost at 60 FPS. It's an unusual sort of visual look because they're moving so fluid. Yet the style is so simplistic. You'd almost think it's like a up down sort of hand movement. Like picture somebody waving and it's just like a nub or a single line, like is what most of this stuff is made out of, just going left and then links and right. Kind of like Pong 2, 3. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't seem like this game should move as fluid as it does, and your character doesn't seem fluid, especially as they do. And I really like it. It's kind of unsettling, it's creepy. Uh, I've heard this game was a really good horror game, but I honestly thought from the screenshots I saw just looking at it, it looks too simplistic to be very good. Like, you look at like the original Alone in the Dark, that is the grandfather of all horror games. Would be no Resident Evil Alone in the Dark, but that game's not particularly scary. Pardon me. Uh, Especially when you look at it with its kind of older graphics, it's like, yeah, I've seen more hideous monsters. I've seen gore, but it's amazing what you can do with a low fidelity style when you are really leaning in on the fact, okay, I know that I'm using the old tech. Now I'm going to work with it with that full. Back in, I guess, the days when like on Park and stuff, they were pushing the. Whereas nowadays, it's more like I know the limitations work fully within the confines of that, and I really like that. Uh, but anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed watching this. I'm very interested. Have a great rest of your